Hey guys, welcome back to According To. I'm Megan.
And I'm Ciera. This week's episode, Megan and I thought it would be kind of fun to talk about things that we wish that we may have done differently. We also are going to be utilizing a lot of your guys' comments and feedback for this one. We asked on our Instagram for you guys to send us just some things that you wish you could go back and maybe change or do differently. And I'm sure Megan and I will have some stuff to share along the way. And while it's best to probably not live with regret, I feel like it's always good to reflect and take time to learn about things you could have done differently so that hopefully in the future you can approach similar situations maybe a little bit better.
Yeah, so in the past, probably a few months ago, we did basically a similar episode where, do you remember the question that we asked?
I don't know if we ever fully did that episode, did we?
Oh, I thought we did.
I don't
That's
remember.
how I got this idea. I swear there's an episode we did a couple months back where we posed a question to you guys, and then that was kind of just what we talked about
The jumping
for
off
that
point.
episode. So kind of same idea for this one. So the question is, what would you have done differently? And it's a very open-ended question and can apply to however you see it fitting in your life. So before we do that, we are going to start off with our weekly spotlights. So
my weekly spotlight is, I think, yesterday. Just first of all, first and foremost, we went to Barnes & Noble. That was a fun time. So we can talk about our little Barnes & Noble trip and the books that we got. But we started off our day yesterday going to Starbucks and getting a significant chunk of work and studying done. So for PT school right now, while we're not in class, we do have a case report that we're supposed to work on. And then kind of here and there, we're supposed to be studying for taking the PEAT, which is kind of
I don't even know what it stands for.
I don't know what it stands for either, but it's an exam that we have to take that's a retired boards exam, and we have to take that so that our program can approve us to take the actual licensing exam. So we have to do well enough on that to be
there's not a technical pass or not pass for that, I don't think, but the idea is hopefully you do well enough on it where our school's confident going into the licensure exam that we'll hopefully pass it. So
we need to take that before December 12th. But then also, I'm just trying to, do better about studying. I definitely anticipated that I would be, I would have studied more at this point than I thought that I have. And I'm slacking. But that's okay.
If you happen to be in the PT world or going through something similar, here's what we've been doing to study. So first of all, we both have the PT 365 app. That's by Score Builders. And we got that. Someone in our class had mentioned it when we first got into PT school. And I was like, oh, I didn't even know that was a thing. And it gives you one previous board question a day. And so it's something to try and do daily. I was really bad in school about keeping up with it. I would go months without doing it. And then all of a sudden I would just be doing 60 questions to catch up. But that's a good one just to every single day try and get your brain working a little bit. And then our school, we got books through them. So everyone in our program got the same books. Someone decided on Score Builders. But I like it so far and how it's been working. So we got textbooks for that, which so far it's been pretty comprehensive.
Yeah.
I like how it's organized and sorted. And then we also got online material, practice exams to go with that. So that's been working well. And then we basically got the textbook in an app. So,
and this is not essential, but
No.
with how much I've been slacking on studying, I figured maybe having something on my phone to help me out would make me study more.
Kind of study wherever.
But it costs $30, so it's not cheap.
So it's called PT Content Master, still by Score Builders, but I like it. It's organized into the same sections that the book kind of has stuff organized into. It has a lot of the same content, but broken down, so you kind of just seeing the key information for all that stuff. You can put stuff that you don't know super well. You can categorize that, so it'll put it in a separate spot on the app, so you can keep referring to it. So that's been nice. And then there's also short little 25 question quizzes for different sections where you can go through and see how well you know different stuff. So it's something that at my last clinical, one of the PTs there, he mentioned it. And so I screenshotted it when he first told me about it to say oh, I could go back and get this if I want to. And because of how much I've been slacking on studying, I was let me something on my phone would be handy. And so when we had a road trip earlier this week, when we went to Cedar Rapids, I was for some reason I was starting to get in a study mood. I was just I'm getting this case report, I'm working on that one. I want to work on studying a little bit more. and I wasn't going to bring a whole textbook in the car with me. So I actually got it and used it for a good chunk of time while we were driving. Well, while my sister was driving. So that was good. And then I also got my outline for my case report submitted this weekend, which
I'm very jealous of you. I just decided on the patient that I think I'm going to do for my case report. So hopefully my plan is to try and get that done, ideally, by the end of this week, so I can submit that and, like, not have to worry about it while we're in Cincinnati, because it's due the following week.
10th.
So I need to get that done.
And then I think that now that I have that submitted, I have, like, all these due dates on my Google Calendar just to, like, keep track of stuff. I want to say, like, the rough draft is due, like, October 31st. So just trying to keep that in my brain and realize that I've got some writing that I need to start working on next. I really need to just, like, break it up into being, like,
manageable.
Just try to write, like, 2 pages.
Yeah.
And, like, that's not that bad.
Because the whole thing has to be
like,
what's it between?
10, 15 pages is kind of, like, the estimate.
Single space, which is sad.
It includes references, too, a little bit, and, like, tables and figures that you might be using.
Yeah. I think that's what I need to try and do. Once I get my rough draft submitted, I need to be like, okay, let's break this down so you're not writing, like, 10 to 15 pages at one time. And, like, 1 to 2 pages, a day, like, and then give yourself time to, like, edit and stuff. That's what I need to do.
And there's different stuff built into it for, like, this submission thing. So it's like we have peer review stuff that we're doing. That's also, like, after the rough draft is submitted. We, like, review a classmates thing. We get feedback from that. And then, so it's broken down into little chunks already. But, and I know it's funny looking back too. Like, right before we left school, they were like, you guys are going to want to make sure you don't push this stuff off. Which, like, we're not really, I still wouldn't say we're, like, pushing it off.
No.
But there maybe are some people in our class who, like, did stuff earlier or, like,
I think there's probably a good mix. Like, I bet there's people like us who, like, I really haven't started. Like, I picked a patient. So I bet there's people like me who have not started. And I bet there's people that, like, started in the first block and, like, got it done. That would be so crazy.
Completely done, presentation and everything.
I mean, like, they really couldn't be. You know what I mean? Because, like, we haven't done any peer review stuff.
True. Yeah.
So you can only be so far.
Good point. But yeah, otherwise, let's talk about the different books we got.
Okay, so first of all, going back to, like, our Starbucks session, I need to get in the habit of, like, just going to Starbucks. Like, I love Starbucks anyways. Like, you guys know that. This has been a big Starbucks year for me. And so, like, we were there for 4 hours, and it was fine. Like, I didn't mind studying. The vibe was good atmosphere. Got my little Starbucks sandwich and my refresher. And so I just need to do that more often. But then also, Meg and I'm, like, stuck on studying for a second, too.
Weekends, we've had, like, football games that we've been going to. And then, like, I much prefer studying on Saturday because, like, Sunday,
you're like,
I'm already, like, not looking forward to, like,
you get, like, the Sunday scaries.
So Saturday, I like doing it Saturday morning, and then, like, I'm done midday. I still have the rest of Saturday. I have all of Sunday.
Also, that brings up an interesting point that someone mentioned, either on it, like, related to a podcast or related to, like, vlogging and stuff, how Megan and I, like, are like, oh, like, yay, like, we get off work early, or, like, oh, like, it's Monday tomorrow, like, oh no, like, so someone was like, are you sure, like, are you guys, like, already feeling burnt out? Like, are you sure PT is, like, the right career path for you? And it's like, it's not PT or anything that I'm thinking of. It's, like, just work in general. I'm like, oh, gotta go to work. Like, I think it's fair to say that no one, like, loves going to work for extended periods of time. Maybe and who doesn't like getting off early?
It kind of bothered me when I read that comment, just because I feel like it's honestly not super common for people to, like, jump out of bed and literally just be, like, jumping for joy just to, like, go to work. Because, like, even if you like what you're doing for a job, you're still going and spending time, like, away from family, and, like, you have certain responsibilities and commitments. And
there's, like, that, like, level of stress sometimes, like, just from, like, things you have to get done, tasks you have to do. So it's, like, the environment can be, like, kind of stressful.
Usually when I'm at work, I often do find myself thinking, like, this job compared to a lot of jobs that other people have to do, like, this is a pretty good job. Like, I can't complain too much, but it's still just, like, spending 40 hours, or, like, it's nice to get off earlier.
Yeah.
It is.
So don't worry if I've only seen that comment, like, one time, but I just wanted to kind of bring that up because I'm sure a lot of people can relate by, like, whether it's school or work. Even if you like what you're doing, what you're studying, it's nice to have time off. It's nice to, like, relax and take a break. And so you don't have to like look forward to like every 40 hours of your week where you're at work. I think it's normal, especially like the hardest part is getting up and getting to work. Like it's that part specifically that I'm like, I don't want to wake up, I don't want to get ready, don't want to drive. But then like when you're there, it's like, okay, this is fine,
Yeah.
this is good. I think that's it for studying. So then we went to Barnes and Noble. Megan and I, as much as we try, we cannot stop buying books, despite the fact that we have plenty to read still.
So many we can read.
In our defense, we have a video coming up that we needed. We got one book for the video because the premise is we're going to try doing a reading vlog. So that'll be our first attempt at doing something like that. But it's going to be like a book talk reading vlog. So Megan has a book picked out, and then I picked out a book at Barnes & Noble. I guess I can say because the video will be going up soon, but it's not like it's going to be a spoiler or anything. So I got Red, White, and Royal Blue. And then Megan is going to be reading Love on the Brain, which I got her a few weeks ago.
Yeah. And then while I was there, I've been wanting to read Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. It's been on my TBR for a little bit now because I was told it's reminiscent or like has the same vibe as Project Hail Mary, which was one of my favorite
like
books
really
that I read this year.
What Megan means by that is like the character kind of vibe. Like the plot itself I don't think is even close to Project Hail Mary. But what was so great, I mean I love the plot of Project Hail Mary too, but I think what we really, really liked was like the character himself. Like I've never read a more likable character.
So I'm excited. I don't know fully when I'm gonna put that in my rotation, but
You got it.
have it now. So
I picked up 2 other books. One of them is quite hefty. So I picked up, I believe it is 11/23/63. It's the date that JFK was assassinated. So if that date is wrong, then that's not the name of the book, but it's the date he was assassinated. I think Megan can look it up.
yeah.
Okay, so it is by Stephen King. This will be my second Stephen King book that I've read. The first one that I read was Misery. I gave that one like a 3 or 3.5 stars, but I didn't feel like it was fully my vibe. However, I've heard that this book is a very different writing style than what he has written for his other books. And so I looked at my Goodreads because you guys know I can't make any opinion. I can't like have an opinion about a book if I want to read it or not, just based off the summary. I have to know what other people think. And so I was pleasantly surprised with like how many like 4 and 5 stars there were. Like it had well into like the 4-star average rating, and there was like at least a couple 100,000 reviews, I think. And so and it sounded like intriguing. It was like kind of a mix of historical fiction and sci-fi because it's kind of like got this time travel aspect to it. The thing is, the kicker is this book is like 800 some pages, so it's going to be by far the longest book that I have ever read when I get it all read.
I almost feel like you need to have like an audiobook on backup just to like have a little reprieve from reading such a long
I mean,
book.
I definitely think that either audiobook or like some other smaller book that I have might be
like
necessary.
the last thing, I mean, hopefully like, it's a really good book. And
I've heard like
you're
some of the
looking
reviews were
forward to reading
saying
it, but you don't want to get into a slump from reading this
Yeah.
book. So
my hope is like what the reviews are saying was like that it was pretty like you want to keep reading and like find out what's happening. And so I'm hoping it's just like despite the length of the book, I'm gonna be like so into it that I'm like not caring that it's that long.
What do you think? What's the longest book you read? I think
All
that.
the Light We Cannot See.
How many pages was that?
500 something.
I think that.
Actually, it might be a Mariana Zapata book at this point.
How many pages was? Because I read Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score, and I swear that has like 600 pages. But now I'm like, there's no way. But I need to.
I know
it
it's
out
a
now.
long book. I know All the Light We Cannot See was definitely the longest book that I read last year. So it was either 400 or 500 pages. But I'm trying to think. Oh, number of pages is the way you can sort your read books. So that's helpful. So
I'm seeing 562. So, I mean, it's a pretty long book. But then it's like, it's that, and then like for a yearbook, that's a long book in itself.
and then it's another book.
And then it's another like normal length book.
All Roads Lead Here is now the longest book that I have read. But then All the Light We Cannot See is the second longest book that I've read.
How long is that one?
All Roads Lead Here was 572 pages.
Okay, so that's the longest book that I've read too then.
So, and like really like when it's a good book, and a Kindle makes it less daunting because you can't see the pages. But like when it's a good book, you don't really mind.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's just like scary because it's like I physically like I see it on the shelf and it's like so thick. And then the last book that I got, I only got it because the I almost said Stephen Hawking. The Stephen King book that I got had one of those buy one get one 50% off stickers, and I was like pulled into the discount, and I was like, I need to get another book so I can get it for half off. So I got In 5 Years. I don't even know the name of the author, but I've seen that book kind of floating around. It was relatively short. It was like 250 something pages, I think. So hopefully a kind of quick read. And yeah, that was my Barnes & Noble trip. That was courtesy of my dad because he gave me a check for $50 for my birthday, and those 3 books together were about $50. Some people are crying right now with like me saying that. But that's fine.
My book alone was like $20, and I was like,
dang,
what the heck?
What book did you get? Oh yeah, Dark Matter. Interesting. All right, so was that your weekly spotlight, or do you have anything else to share?
Trying to think of just like if anything else random happened or not, but
I mean, the honor flight, I don't know if that was like a spotlight for you, but that was fun. We don't need to go like into that much detail because we like had a whole week in our life where like we included stuff about that. So if you guys want to see us surprising our grandpa after he like went on an honor flight to DC, that's just like where they fly vets to DC for the day, and then they come right back and see like all the memorials and stuff while they're up there, and then all like the family and friends and random people showed up to like surprise them and welcome them home at the airport. So that was nice.
Otherwise, I honestly feel like I had like a pretty boring and uneventful week. Like, but that's fine. You know, they happen.
Yeah.
But I was like editing the week in our life, and I was just like, not a whole lot going on here, which is fine.
Just
it's
vibes.
a normal life, but yeah, I don't really feel like much else happened. I think that yesterday was a good productive day, and getting my case report submitted, or the outline.
That's a weekly spotlight. That's good.
That's my spotlight. So,
all right, should we dive into the meat of the episode?
I at least have one that I thought of like off the top of my head to start off with, and then of course if I am inspired by other people's answers, then like I'll add more into. But if you want to try and think of one thing, we can kind of start with our things we would have done differently, and then we'll jump into your guys' answers.
Okay.
So one thing that I feel like I wish I would have done differently was like how we handled our senior year of high school. So Ciera and I, throughout high school, we like had acquaintances here and there, but we never really had like a friend group except for like our gymnastics friends, which we were very close with. But what was hard was that they were all younger than us. Everyone kind of like was spread out and at different schools a little bit, and other than like seeing each other at practice or like planned stuff in advance, like we didn't have people at school regularly that like we were super close with. So I feel like our senior year, we really just kind of like embraced that, and probably not in like the best way possible.
Yeah.
And we kind of just like said, you know what, like start of senior year, we still had a whole year of school left, and we're kind of like, you know, none of this
no
really
new
matters.
friends. That's what we were like. That was our motto. None
of this really matters because we're going to be gone and out of here in a year's time. And so we didn't do cheer senior year, which like I don't really regret not doing that because
that like was for other reasons though.
Yeah. I felt like my safety was like at risk, and just it wasn't as fun anymore. But we just like didn't do a whole lot. And
like the senior year like shenanigans that everyone's supposed to get up to, and like just like the senior things, like we just didn't really do. And it's like I have mixed feelings about that because like in some ways I'm like I don't really care, but then in other ways I think part of it is like I felt almost like I couldn't do because I felt like people did those like things with friends.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I'm not going to do that by myself, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like people would like go to like the football games, and like the seniors are supposed to like wear either like these like overalls that they like decorate, or they can wear like these army camo pants that like have our school colors on them. That's just like what the seniors at our school did. I feel like a lot of Central Iowa schools at least do that. I don't know how like what other seniors do elsewhere, but that was like our thing. And so Megan and I would go to the football games, but like we didn't do like the senior stuff almost because I felt like I couldn't. Like I don't know,
Yeah.
It just felt like
I feel like
couldn't.
we didn't even sit in the student section. I feel like we like went
We did.
all the
We
way
sat,
to
like,
the
higher
top
up.
of bleachers, and like I don't know. It was just like we were very much kind of doing the things we wanted to do because we liked watching and going to the football games anyway, so like we did do that, but then getting super involved beyond that was like not something we did. And then like we didn't go to school dances, which like I don't know
We went
if
to
I
like homecoming, but then we were like,
yeah, it's like
so we didn't go to prom, didn't go to winter formal.
We could go, but then like I also don't know if I love dance or dances, or I don't know if I just was like being annoying at the time, and like I could have had more fun than.
But then like again, it brings me back to I was like, we don't have any friends to go with. Like, you know, you either go with like a date or you go with friends. I didn't have either of those things, so I was like, well, I'm just not gonna go. We went to homecoming, but then like that was it.
Yeah. And then we also graduated early, which like I honestly don't regret doing that, but we were out of there. We were ready to be done. And then
our last day of high school was the same day as our last gymnastics meet. I was like, wow, this is a crazy day.
I feel like it also just kind of, and none of this really matters at the end of the day. So like, sure, I wish things maybe would have like, we could have done things differently, but like,
at least like take this
whatever.
If you guys are in like high school, like take this as like a word of caution, like, you know, thinking about how you're going through like school right now, if you're like, you know, not utilizing all the opportunities available to you, you know, just this is our thoughts.
But then something that I think kind of like made me think what really like set our senior year like of like, oh, that's how it went, was like our grad party. I feel like
no one showed up. We had family show up.
Our grad party was like a little bit later compared to like when other grad parties were, but still like close enough to like whatever. And like I said, we didn't have like super close friends, but I thought we had like enough acquaintances where like you don't have to be best friends to go to people's grad parties. We certainly went.
Let me preface this by saying I don't like grad parties. Contrary to everyone in the world who like they love grad parties because it's like their breakfast, lunch, and dinner for like 4 weeks straight. I do not like grad parties. I didn't want to go to anyone's, but I did with intention.
Guess what? I wasn't going to my besties' grad parties. I was acquaintances with these people, and like I went to ones where I felt good enough about going to them because like maybe we cheered together or we
like were in similar classes, like just like saw each other enough. And then I was like, okay, I'm only going to these. I was missing potential lake weekends, but I was like, I'm going to these with the intention that like, oh, I went to yours, so now you have a reason to come to mine. And then like literally no one but our family,
no one except for our
like gymnastics
gym friends and family showed up, which like it was just kind of like, dang, I thought like at least like
one person
someone would come. So
and it was still like there was enough people there that like it's not like it felt empty or anything.
Yeah. And
like I don't know if like anyone else like noticed that much because again there's like enough people there that like it was like busy enough because our family's freaking huge. But I was like, this is kind of embarrassing.
Yeah,
let's wrap this up.
When's the party over? So that was when I was kind of like, okay, so high school is done now, and interesting. Anyways, so that was my thought. I just have like weird feelings looking back on senior year. So
yeah. Things that I wish I would have done differently. I feel like clearly we didn't learn our lesson because the first one that I thought of was related to just like undergrad and how the trend continues.
Okay, guys, I will say like PT school like was so much better for us.
Yeah.
So there was light at the end of the tunnel for us.
Yeah, we have great friends now, but in undergrad, I do think I tried a little bit like with making friends more, but like it just always felt like I didn't know how to make friends.
It always felt like we never quite learned how to like go about making friends. And I know that this is not an uncommon thing because I hear people talking about it. Like people have the same issue. They'll talk about it on like other, you know, social media platforms where they're like, this is the same thing that happened to me. You just kind of feel like you can't find your group of people. And everyone has like their same little shtick of like, you need to put yourself out there. You need to like go join clubs, it's just like, you can't really force something that's not there. And you just have to wait till you truly find that group somehow, or like start with finding one person that you get along with super well. And then maybe from there, the group grows, but you can't really force that. So.
Mm-hmm. And like, I remember this is like what felt awkward to me was like, everyone goes in like freshman year, like during all the orientation, like, and you know, first week kind of stuff. Like everyone like is so gung-ho about like talking to people and meeting people,
I feel
but
like
in the
one
back of
of
my mind it felt like so forced. I was like thinking internally, and maybe this was a me issue, but I was like, we're not gonna be like friends though.
I feel like I'm unintentionally a fairly judgmental person of people. Like, you know, the first 5-10 seconds that I'm meeting you, like, I'll kind of know if I feel like we're gonna vibe or not. And like you were saying, those like first few weeks of college when everyone's like super excited, like they're just about ready to be friends with anyone, and I was like, but I'm already thinking in my head, like, I don't know if I see this like lasting or like being a long-term thing. And so in my mind, I'm like, I'm just gonna not really like pursue a friendship. But in hindsight, maybe just like seeing what would happen there, or like
there's genuinely like nothing really that like could have gone wrong if you like tried a friendship, and if it doesn't work, it's fine, it doesn't work.
Or it's just like at least you have like an in then when everyone's like in those first couple weeks of college like trying to figure things out, you have like more of an idea of like, oh, this is going on, so I can go here and maybe meet other people. And when you do what me and Ciera did,
you close yourself early on. Like you
don't know what's going on, where, or anything. So then, yeah.
I'm trying to think of anything else related to that. I just feel like we closed ourselves off way too early, and like once we did that, we like didn't know how to like re-enter. And like we didn't join a sorority or anything, so like it was just hard. Like we tried like going to like club meetings and stuff to find if there's any like clubs that we were interested in. None of those freaking ever worked.
Or some of them again just felt like
forced.
Freshman year we joined a club called Charge, which is actually like pretty decently common across college campuses. It's this group of women who you can just like make workout groups with. You can have like little workout partners with, people to hold you accountable. And the idea of it, because I remember we heard about this when usually for a lot of colleges you join like a Facebook page for like the class that's like incoming. So we were on like our class page on Facebook, and people oftentimes like posted about clubs that were going on or just like different things. And so I saw that, and I, like a lot of other girls that commented, were like, oh, like that's super intriguing, because I don't have a whole lot of interests, but I am kind of interested in fitness and fitness related stuff. So we went to like the first couple things, because there's like these there's a large group workout class that we did, and
then you're like broken into like smaller groups too.
Yeah. And then there was also a smaller group that we went to one time, because we did not group workout, but it was like a 5 or 6 person workout at like the rec on campus. And that's when I realized that I do not work out well in groups, because a lot of people, like, it was more so like they kind of like were like, okay, this is like the workout we're doing. And I started feeling like really not well, like sick, not good. And I just didn't like that, because then I was like, I can't really control what I'm doing or not doing. And I'm like about to throw up around this group of girls. I wasn't actually like that close to throwing up, but I was just like, I don't feel good, and I do not like this. So that was the end of that. You like
dipped out kind of early. I might have dipped out early too. I don't remember.
I thought we both didn't feel well, but I know I didn't feel well. So,
but yeah, then I was like, well, I don't know about this. And I just like, again, I feel like we didn't like automatically click with anyone right away.
Like we're only in a group of like, we didn't like pick this group. It was kind of like we were like assigned into like this workout group just by like happenstance. I don't fully know how they did it back then, but it was just like, I mean, they were fine. Nothing was wrong with any of the girls, but it just was like.
And you know what? Maybe something else I could have learned, like something I should have done differently, was maybe I should have given it more time. Because you can't, you know, I think I can know off of meeting someone one time, but like.
Maybe you can't.
Maybe you can't.
I guess like a good lesson too is like in PT school, granted we started in the middle of a pandemic, so really getting to know anyone was kind of like limited, but it still took time like for us to find our group in our PT program, just because we didn't fully know everyone in our program. You kind of like are talking with some people at one point and like, you know, having acquaintances, but then you kind of slowly are like, oh, I think I kind of like mesh with like these people better. And so it all worked out well for us. The hard thing now is like that we're on clinicals is like trying to make sure we're maintaining that, just because maintaining
we did a
friendships
fun
is
little
hard,
Zoom call. We should do one of those
It
again.
wasn't a Zoom call, it was a FaceTime.
Whatever.
But yeah, we did a little FaceTime catch up with all of them a couple weeks ago just to catch up and see how everyone's doing.
It's so fun hearing everyone else's clinical stories. Just like knowing you're like, okay, like I'm not the only one who's like experienced something like weird or like funny or just like I feel like you don't know anything. So it's nice to talk about that stuff with other people. But yeah, I think like that's like my biggest takeaways with like things that I wish I would have done differently, that like I can't like get that time back. So it's like I wish that like, because like now when people like talk about like their college memories and like the crazy things they did, I'm like I literally have nothing to share, which is like fine, but
yeah,
it's like at least if I would have like had friends and like fun stories to like share, it's like, oh, like yeah, that would have been like fun, but I just don't have that. So
okay, let's kind of jump into some of your guys' responses and see what you guys wish you would have done differently. So I will start at the bottom. Someone said thinking of a major / career while in high school. That's a good. What's hard is like if you don't really know what you want to do, then when you go into college, you're paying a lot of money to just kind of figure things out, which I think is always hard. I think that Ciera kind of started like going down the route of physical therapy probably end of our junior year or like middle of our junior year. And I'm gonna admit I kind of just like tag teamed with her and was like, this sounds like
I'm actually seeing a lot of people talking about
pretty
like their thoughts
decent.
in like colleges or like their career. So I feel like this is like a broad category that people like wish they would have invested more time into thinking about. And it's interesting because like from what I'm looking at, it seems like there's kind of both ends of the spectrum where people wish they would have like started thinking about stuff earlier versus some people like wish that they would have like allowed themselves more time to like figure out their passion before like jumping into something.
I think that both
it
are
goes
valid.
both ways.
And I think that for both of them, it's kind of like time is money. Like the longer you take to figure things out, oftentimes like the more money you're putting into schooling or things like that to like get the degree that you need or want and then like pursue the career you want. But then I feel like what's hard is like, especially depending on the high school you go to, like your exposure to different careers is not great. And so then you're left thinking, okay, I have 4 years, if you're going the college route anyways, I've got 4 years to go get a degree to then like have a job that I'm just going to have for like the next 40 years of my life. That's the very typical life path that a lot of people are setting out on when they do that. And it's hard when you, like we were saying earlier in the episode too, like with that one question about burnout and stuff, like there's only so many people that are like super, super passionate about their career and feel like super 100% positive, like this is the path and the career for them. And a lot of people are kind of deciding this is more of like a means to an end. I am good at this. I can do this and manage it. And
it pays me.
It pays me to do the job. And then
I go home.
I can go home and live my life outside of that. I think both are fine. But when you live in a world too where like a lot of times on social media, seeing how other people live their lives, it's hard to not compare yourself and then like your happiness to like what you're assuming is like their happiness online. Like a lot of people that are content creators like have a lot of freedom with their time and usually get paid pretty well for the time that they're working, and you see that and you're just kind of like, how come I can't do that? Like I am going and working 40 hours a week for a job that I may or may not care that much about, and then on social media you can obviously compare your life to other people who seem like they've got it better than you do. So
I think for me where it comes like where I think of, you know, trying to pick out a career, especially like nowadays we're forced to do it at like such a young age, like pretty much right out of high school, you're expected to like figure out your path in the world for the next 40 years. So I do think like one, it becomes a lot less stressful and nerve-wracking when you realize you don't have to stick with one thing for the rest of your life. Like, yeah, I understand like the daunting task of like trying to save money, and like you don't want to have to like go back to school or like pay more money to like, you know, oh, like you found your new passion, now you have to like go back to school to like get a new degree. Like, I understand you don't want to do that, but I also think it's important to realize that it's not the end of the world if you like pick something and decide it's not for you and like change your mind. But I also understand like the, you know, I wish that I would have figured it out sooner mindset.
Yeah.
So
Like, you don't know until you know.
and I think that what's always been kind of my guiding light with like deciding what I wanted to do was like I always picked my end goal first and then like worked backwards. So I like knew I wanted to be a PT, and lucky for me there's a pretty clear cut path with like how I get there. And so like my major was based off the fact that I like my end goal was to be a PT. Like, would I have majored in human physiology on my own? Probably not, because there's not a lot of great job opportunities with like just a human physiology degree. So I probably would have majored in like business or something, or like whatever my means to that end would be. Business can be a pretty good means to an end for a lot of different career paths. But I think some people like, this is where I get mixed feelings too, because some people just like pick what they want to study and then they're like, then I'll figure it out. And like in that instance, they're picking like their happiness then, and they're like, I'll find something, like something will appear. And like that could be a good mindset too. But then some people are like, okay, like this is the most practical choice, and then I'll evaluate my options after that. And like I would be nervous to do that route, because I'm like, well, like what am I doing this for though? Is where I would be thinking, like I'd be nervous.
Yeah. I feel like another thing too of like what I realized for myself is that when I start getting into like the mode of questioning, like what am I doing with my life, or like more of those like existential crisis moments, I feel like it's usually because I'm in like a period of like monotony, and like every day is like looking the same. And oftentimes that's how it is for people who work 40 hours a week at their job. Like, you're probably going and doing the same thing for a lot of the day, versus when you're a student or in an undergrad, like every day is a little bit different. You've got some free time sprinkled in, and like even though things are hard, like being a student and being in grad school, like it was hard, but you don't necessarily, I feel like, at least I didn't have like these existential crises type moments. It was always when I went on clinical and was like doing the same thing for 8 hours a day for 40 hours a week, and I was kind of like, it would make me just like anxious for no reason, even though, like I said, I'd go to work. Overall, I'd be enjoying what I was doing, and I was like, you know, this isn't too bad.
I think like it's normal for everyone to have like that existential moment of like, am I doing this for the next 40 years?
Yeah.
Like, I think it's normal.
So one of the things that I really like about PT, but it's not PT specific, you can probably find this with other jobs too, is I like the idea of like, you can find PT jobs in so many different settings. So when you do start to feel like a little bit burnt out, like you have the freedom to switch it up a little bit. Something else that's also nice with like certain healthcare jobs and like other jobs too is the ability to like work part-time or different hours without that usually being a huge issue, versus like if you're an accountant, it's probably like a little bit harder to be like
I'm a part-time
accountant, you know. But like PTs can like pick up, like the more patients they can see, like they'll take someone to do it. And if they're working part-time or 80% or whatever, like it's more flexible in that sense. So that was something else that was also intriguing to me. And yeah, I feel like that helps me think of like, okay, in the future then when I have like a little bit more say over like where my career is going, like I have the ability to hopefully shape it into what I want it to look like, which is refreshing to me. So go PT.
All right. So I'm seeing a couple responses of people saying like they wish that they would have broken up with their partner sooner than they did, which I thought was interesting. So I saw someone saying they wish that they would have broken up with their ex way earlier. And then someone else said, I wish that I would have never dated my boyfriend, now ex. He led me into a three years of a narcissistic relationship.
Relationships.
I mean,
I feel like you always do learn from relationships though. Even if you wish you would have gone back and done things differently, you at least have that mindset now where you can be more like, I know what not to look for now. And I know everyone says that, but it's true.
And it's always so much easier. Like, hindsight's always 20/20, isn't it? Like, if you like leave a relationship and you look back and you're like, oh my God, like, how was I in that for so long? But it's like, well, you were there, you were in it, and yet like you stayed in it. So like clearly something was still working, or like maybe you were blind to something that you didn't see yet. And so I don't think you can like fully regret that or like be mad at yourself. And like you said, you learn and you grow, and like it shapes who you are.
I feel like it helps. Relationships that don't work out will help to prioritize your list of things that are non-negotiable, or your partner needs to have these qualities, or just different attributes where when you're dating and like you meet that next person, you can kind of say, I feel like it helps you not have like those rose-colored glasses where you're like, no, like this is a
You're
really
perfect.
good person. Like they don't have this, and this that didn't work out in my last relationship, but like it's going to be different this time. And hopefully you can be a little bit more like, no, like that was a big issue in my last relationship. So I know it's not going to work out because of XYZ. It's always a good learning experience. So maybe you wish it wouldn't have taken as much time, but there's only so much you can, like you can't really obviously go back and redo that. So
something else I'm seeing is someone saying that they wish they spent more time with their older family members when they were a child, or like as they got older before they passed away. I think that is a great one to keep in mind, like not just even like family, but like maintaining relationships just like throughout your life is so important, and like prioritizing those things. Obviously like Megan and I, we're not great with like cultivating new relationships, but like one thing I am confident in is like our relationship with our family, and I could do better about maintaining the friendships that I do have. Like I know they're there, but I do a bad job reaching out.
Distance is hard though, which
It
is why that's why like Ciera and I really like being in the Des Moines area, because like that's where all of our family is. And so like family is super important to both of us. I like the idea of being around and like on a whim just being able to ask like a family member to like go do something, or like, can I come see you, or things like that. I love being able to do that. And so if I lived somewhere else where like I couldn't do that,
And like we did
it'd be,
for 5 years.
although Haley was like close by, so
Yeah.
we always had someone. But it's just little things like that where I appreciate living close by. And with these, like with our friendships, like we're all in different places, it just makes friendships harder because you can't see them as frequently. And I am bad at texting, I am bad at like FaceTiming and keeping up with people that way. So in person is just always easier for me. So if you're close in proximity, it's easier, at least for me.
All right. Someone else said that they wish they would have gotten more into fitness in their 20s. And I think that this is something that a lot of people realize, especially like when they get out of high school and like high school sports and stuff and they enter college. They're like, I didn't learn how to be like how to exercise and like work out or like do movement that wasn't related to my sport. And like when you don't learn that, it can be easy, especially getting into college. Like so many things are changing, and like you're in a new environment, meeting new people, doing new things. Like the stress is already a lot for a lot of people. And so like trying to work out on top of that, some people are like, that's not even like on my mind right now. Like I'm not even worrying about that. And it can be hard after you like let so much time pass to be like, how do I don't even know where to begin working out or exercising.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a good thing to keep in mind to like keep that in, like, if not in the back of your mind, in the front of your mind, like wherever in your mind, keep it somewhere. And like it can be such like a small thing that you do to like try and keep up with your fitness, whether it's a walk, like just being active and like walking around campus can be really helpful, especially if you have a large campus. Iowa, shout out to that hill, because that hill made me put in some work.
The good thing too though is that like even if you kind of regret not getting started sooner, like you can always start though.
It is never too late.
So even though you wish you would have done things sooner or the timeline was a little bit different, there's always today. There's always, okay, I'm going to decide to do this today, and maybe I won't do it tomorrow or the next week, but I can always, when I'm thinking about it, I will do it that day. And that's just what life is you try and keep working towards meeting your goals, and maybe you fall off the tracks a little bit, but then you try and get back on it a little bit. Like, so you're not, we regularly work out, sure, but usually our goal is like working out 3 to 4 times a week. And I'm not saying that has to be anyone who's listening, like that's not like, doesn't have to be your guys' goal, but life gets in the way, life gets busy. These past couple of weeks, like, I'm working out where I can, but some days it's like me not wanting to wins, or I have other things going on that win. And so it's been like a couple weeks where like I've probably only gotten in like 2 to 3 workouts, and that's still fine. Like, it's okay.
And also, like, something that's interesting is I feel like a lot of you guys, like, knowing, like, that we, like, regularly work out for the most part, and, like, we obviously, like, not majored in physical therapy, but, like, we, like, know a lot about, like, exercise and, like, movement and all that stuff. And so, like, sometimes I'll see people be like, oh, like, show us your workout routine, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you guys don't want my workout routine. Like, I just go in, I do whatever that I know, like, makes sense and works, but, like, it's not, like, a set routine. It's nothing crazy. Like, I don't really have anything, like, to show you guys, like, what I do. Sometimes I finish a workout and I'm like, that was stupid. Like, do you know what I mean?
You were there.
So, like, just know that, like, even I, who, like, consider myself someone who, like, knows how to work out and, like, I feel like I know what I'm doing, I, like, will finish plenty of workouts and I'm like, well, I don't know what that was, but. So, like, that is why you guys do not get a workout routine, because I just don't have a routine.
I would be much more apt to record a workout routine for you guys. However, I don't like setting up camera in the gym. So, yeah.
That's also a barrier.
It was a lot easier to do at the rec. Like, I feel like there was more hidden spots. But then I'm there, like, recording our weekend life videos. And I'm just like, I literally, like, other than me recording myself, like, walking on the treadmill, I'm like, I don't even know where to put my phone right now.
Yeah, there's
That's,
a lot
like,
of open
not
space.
super obvious. And then I don't want people thinking I'm recording them or anything. And
you know what's crazy? When you see, like, on TikToks, people, like, having full-on tripods set
with,
up.
like, the little microphone attachment to, like, their shirt or like, sports bra. I'm like, you guys, like, I mean, props to you. I get it. But also, like,
never.
The confidence that you have to do that. And, like, yeah. Because you know they have to have their phone on a tripod. Because, like, their angle is perfect. Yeah. So, I'm seeing someone who said, kind of also talking on, like, losing touch with old friendships that I had and, like, not cultivating those friendships. And I feel like what's hard, well, hopefully, like, if it's just, like, not cultivating those friendships and they kind of fade into, like, the background, I feel like that's means that there's still hope for you to be able to, like, reach back out and say, like, hey, let's catch up and let's chat about what we've been up to for, like, the past couple years or however long it's been. And I think that you'd probably be surprised, assuming that friendship was kind of, like, on good terms and just, like, didn't flourish because it wasn't being nurtured. Then you might be surprised that they would be happy to also, like, meet up again and hang out because maybe they feel the same way you do.
Like, I can literally think of, like, 1,000,001 friends, like, who, if they were to text me, like, asking to, like, do something, hang out, I'd be like, oh my god, yes, like, I wish I would have, like, texted you sooner. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I relate to that. Another thing that I saw related to college but not related to major was people, like, wishing they would have thought of, like, more than just, like, the school that they went to for college. And this is, like, relates to us too, because we only picked one school. So it's like, do we wish that we would have looked at other places? I personally feel no. I'm very happy with the school that I went to. And, like, for me, college wasn't, like, I always knew I was going to go to college, but it was never, like, a big enough deal that I was, like, looking at, like, everywhere around the country that I could go to. Like, I never had that desire.
I am very, like, confident in the choice that I made for where to go to college because big things for me was location. Like I already said earlier, I like being close to family. And so going
like, still 2 hours away.
Going halfway across the country was not something I was interested in. Second thing was price and being able to, like, pay for it and not be in a lot of debt. And so that was another thing that checked off the boxes for me. And then in terms of, like, in-state schools,
there's really only 3 options. And it was really
and
only
I knew
2.
I wanted to go to a bigger school. And so Iowa State, like, they're plenty big for what I wanted to get, like, that typical college experience because
and, like,
that's what I wanted.
Like, a game day, like, you know, sports are a big deal. Like, we wanted that.
Like, Power 5
atmosphere.
School type of situation. I knew that I wanted that. And then really the thing that differentiated the two was probably mostly Haley ended up going into Iowa, and then knowing that we were pre-physical therapy, I think we thought that we saw somewhere that they had a slight preference for Iowa students, but then looking back, we could not find anywhere on the website that it said that. But, like, I swear that's what made us decide, like, okay, let's do Iowa over Iowa State.
I do think that, like, Iowa as a school, though, since they, like, have more of, like, an integrated healthcare thing, like, there was a lot more undergrad
opportunity.
opportunities
Yeah.
to like get yourself kind of involved in like that sector, which helped with
Yeah.
like the application process of like, you know, like I could get easily like volunteer hours for physical therapy, which gave me like observation hours. So stuff like that where it was like it was helpful being at Iowa as opposed to Iowa State, but we could have gone to Iowa State just as easily and like it would have been fine.
Yeah. I honestly feel like I often hear people regretting schools that they go to because they want like that big school experience, but then like they pay the tuition for it. And so like out of state tuition or things like that. So yeah, I don't really know where I was going with that.
I mean, I'll never
The
tell
other
you what
thing
you
that,
should or
like-
shouldn't do, but money at the end of the day is a bigger deal than I think some people give it credit for when it comes to your college decision. Like they're always like, oh, like I'll figure it out, but I'm like, well, you will probably, but like I just hear of a lot of people when they finish college, they're like, I wish that like I didn't care like that much when I was making the decision to go to college about like, oh, like I want to go to like the biggest school, like
people
out of
like,
state,
their
far
dream
away.
school. Yeah. I
It's
feel like I've
like-
never really like, I just don't understand it that much because I've never had like that like dream school feeling. So yeah.
Or like people are like, I just want to get out of state. Like I've never had like that. Like I gotta get out of here. Like
I mean,
vibe
sometimes
either.
sometimes I see people who are in school in like warmer states, especially, let's say, and I'm just like,
You're like,
it
okay,
looks like they're on vacation, just like
all those
all
Florida
the
schools.
time. So that makes me just a little bit jealous, but not enough to go there for school. So
Something that I see that's just pops up. Someone said, I wish that I would have continued gymnastics in high school. I am so happy that like we made the choice to continue gymnastics like all throughout high school. Obviously, like we had our YouTube channel, so like that was like, you know, a partial investment, but like genuinely I loved our gym so much. Like we had just the best friends. We already talked about our gym friends that we had throughout this episode. And like senior year was like the best year. Like I'm so happy that we like stuck through it, because like it was pretty common. I think it's just common in general for like people to quit like gymnastics as they get older and like they're not going to go to like college for it or something, because like it's hard on your body. For a lot of gyms it's a lot of hours. For our gym, luckily it was like not that much of a time commitment, so it was like fine. But yeah, I have absolutely no regrets. It was a great time.
I feel like it was good too, just because the older we got, like you obviously get more seniority, and then you have like other girls like looking up to you too, and it just is
it's like a full circle moment that you like get to reap the benefits of. Like I remember, like, you know, you start off being like the little girl, like we started like on our levels called advanced, and so it's like I would see like during our practice, like they would start like the team practice, which was like the competitive team. So like they would like show up and like maybe like mess around like on a trampoline, or like they'd be somewhere else, and like I'd be watching them and I was like, I want to be like them. And like you see like their pictures on the wall and you're like, I want my picture on the wall. And so like it wasn't just our senior year, but like as you get older and like more invested and you move your way up the ranks, then you're like, oh my god, like it actually like happened. Like we're on the wall. Like we are, you know, like the oldest ones now.
And I feel like obviously the longer you're there, like the more your personality and like you being in the gym, like you have like a direct impact on
The culture.
the atmosphere and culture of the gym too. And so like Ciera said, we just really enjoy the gym, and it was good our senior year. And in that situation, it was good that all of our friends were younger than us.
Because you're like, well, it's been nice working with you. You guys have fun. So it was nice to like not have like, you know, we didn't have to like struggle through like, oh, like so and so is leaving, like what are we gonna do? We were like, well, we're leaving, but you guys have fun.
Yeah.
And so it was nice, kind of in that sense, being the oldest ones there.
Well,
Is that
I
it?
think that kind of covers it, because
Yeah.
so many of you guys like had such similar regrets or
Things
just
you wish you'd have done
differently.
And I just hope, like, honestly, the fact that we only had, like, you know, so many submissions that were different, like, it was
Yeah.
a lot of career, college, relationship stuff. And, like, that makes sense to me.
I feel like a lot of it is like, because I want to reiterate, I'm not someone who like wants people to regret things. I think like things happen. You cannot change the past, so you have to move forward. But I certainly think it's okay to talk and reflect on like, you know, this happened. I can't change it, but if I were to just talk about things now, this is maybe how I wish I would have played out, because maybe it'll impact the future. Maybe it'll change how you decide to go about something else that comes your way. And if you've had the forethought to think about something in the past, then you can say, I know that I regret this regret is not the word I want to use. I
You
know
know
that I
you
would
wish
do it
you would
differently
have done.
now.
Yeah.
So let me try, now that I have an opportunity similar, to do it a little bit differently.
Mm-hmm. Well, with that being said, we hope you guys enjoyed this week's episode. Feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you're watching the video version. Leave us a comment. If you are listening to the audio version, feel free to check out the video version on YouTube, or you could subscribe to our podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for listening. We will talk to you guys next Thursday.
Bye.
Bye.